What's up, everyone? Let me fix my screen. There we go. How's everyone doing tonight? It is Kickback Friday. Where's my microphone? There it is. I'm your host, the one and only Mac Dubs.
And I am AJ Witcher, here with your, well, it's not my normal drink. I've decided to go with the Baba.
Nice. And tonight, we have our friend back, Steve Grogan, and we are about to bring him on and have some fun tonight. Steve, how's it going, my guy?
Pretty good.
How you doing tonight, Steve?
Doing all right. How's it going?
Not too bad.
Good.
Rough week, but I'm glad it's Friday.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, same here.
Regular job's been pain in the you know what.
Yep. Well, I'm lucky. I work for the state. My day job is with the state, so it's not overly stressful.
So what do you do for the state?
I work at the Department of Civil Service.
Okay.
And, yep. And basically all day they submit, like whenever something happens to your job, like you go out on a sick leave, you get a promotion, whatever, agencies have to submit a transaction to us that says, Mac went out on sick leave without pay. And I have to look at it and say, okay, that's good. And then I process it. Or I say, wait, no, there's something wrong with that. And then I have to reach out and say, there's a problem. That's all I do all day pretty much.
Well, Mac, what did you do to go out on sick leave without pay? Didn't have enough sick time there, bud?
I guess too many trips to the casino hall. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so tonight, guys, Steve is bringing us something new. Last week we talked about his exercise, and Steve, I did put in this description your information, your phone number, your email. I even put in description, please text and do not call.
Good.
So tell everyone what you have for us tonight there, Steve.
Well, tonight was because I had talked to you guys after the last show, a little back and forth behind the scenes, and mentioned something about martial arts, and you said you guys are into that too, and I said, oh well, I had a book out. Granted, it was self-published, but that doesn't mean there's no bad quality.
Yeah.
That is one. I will say the one thing that's bad about technology and the fact that anybody can publish now is the fact that anybody can publish now. Like there are no gatekeepers anymore who are like, yeah, your stuff's crap, you're not getting published. But hopefully mine has quality. And so I was telling you how I do. Specifically myself, I do Wing Chun Kung Fu, which is what my book is about. The book I published is called The Lone Warrior, and it's about how to develop a training routine when you can, hardly make it to class, or, the nights that you go to class, other people are much more beginners than you are, so they're not pushing you so your level can rise and stuff. And what do you do if you have people around who like you have, like, say you have a roommate or something, and the roommate's like, yeah, I'd be down with helping you practice your martial art. And then being that you're a Wing Chun person, you say, okay, I really want to develop my Chi Sao skills. And they say, what the hell's Chi Sao? You know, if they don't know what it is, how can they
How can they know?
how can they help you still? And that's what the case was with me. This is people. Some people thought I wrote this after COVID hit, but I wrote this years before COVID was even mentioned, because the situation I was in is, and still I'm still in, is that the Sifu I train with, we have class once a week, and that's it. And but I'm like, man, but I want to get better. You know, I want to get better faster than once a week would allow me. So
Right.
I started to ask. I asked him, what could I do at home? Hold on, you might hear there was a lid open above my head. I wanted to shut it, but I didn't want to squeak loud on the show.
It's all right.
I'm like, joined Facebook groups and was asking people what they do. I looked on message boards, and aside from also just sitting down with pen and paper and letting my mind wander, like, what can I do on my own? That's like my homework, you know, to get better a little bit more than one class a week will allow. And I took a while, a couple months, maybe 6 months, so like half a year, you know, which, granted, you know, that's not a lot of time, but it wasn't fast,
Right.
you know. And I was like, wouldn't it be great if it had all these tips, I had found all these tips compiled into one spot. And I was like, oh, why don't I do that then? And so I wrote this book with all my best basic ideas. Some of it was written before I got into the personal training thing and started to learn more about the way the body responds to exercise and things that we've been told for years we should do, but aren't necessarily done. Things like stretching. Stretching doesn't have any of the benefits that coaches and teachers and stuff have said it does. It doesn't warm up. It doesn't even count as like helping you as being like part of a warm up. Because how do you warm up the muscle? You increase the blood flow to that muscle. So if I do this as like a static stretch for my shoulder, how is that increasing blood flow to my shoulder? Or, you know, if I well, you can't see my foot, but like if I sit down and I put my foot out in front of me and I'm leaning just to try to touch my toes, how is that helping blood flow to my muscles? It's not. So, and in fact, there have been studies that have shown like people who are doing like I can't remember what it was, some kind of a jump, hurdle jump, not hurdle jumps. They were just studying two different groups. One that did before they did this jump, and another didn't do a stretching routine. And they found that the people who stretched had less, they got less height out of their jump. They had less of the stretching actually weakened their muscles.
Right.
And so it does not do what we think it does.
How long have you been studying martial arts?
I started with judo in like '93. I did that for maybe about like 6 months, but they focused more on competition than like self-defense. And
okay.
And then I went on to this school that taught. They had this really cool business card that looked like, wow, man, this is going to be the be all end all. You don't have to go anywhere else, because it had like tiger claw, eagle claw, leopard style. Like it had a whole bunch. Basically, long story short, it listed a whole bunch of kung fu styles, and I was still new to it back then. But eventually, I realized I'm like, there's no way. Like this guy cannot be good at all these different styles. There's just some people think it just takes too much time.
It would take years. It would take years.
Yeah. And then I found a Wing Chun school in Albany, and I started there in '95. And then for a long time, it was on and off because just life happened. Life happens as it will, and then I moved. I was living with a girlfriend who, well, obviously now is an ex, but in Stillwater, New York, and where I was living there, I was closer to this other Wing Chun teacher who was based out of Broad Albin, New York, and he teaches a different lineage than the Albany guy, and it was just more impressive to me because. And nothing again. I mean, the guy, the teacher in Albany, he's got skill. Believe me, you wouldn't want to. I would never want to actually get into a full blown fight with him,
No.
But
right.
But it was amazing to me how the lineage that this new seafood teaches. Well, new to me anyway. This other seafood teaches. The moves are a lot smaller, and yet. I mean, I can't say for sure that you hit, like, despite being smaller moves, you hit just as hard as the other guy, or you hit harder. But I will say that even though you would think someone just does this, you're like, no, that's not going to hurt. It hurts. Like what I mean by the moves being smaller, like there's a part of the second form in the Albany guy, part of the form went like this, like really. See, it's really big.
Yeah.
But in this one, it's this. Same form, same section, but it's really shorter. And you'll see that a lot. Like there's a lot of Wing Chun styles that are more like that, like the bigger motion. Like this one guy was doing. There's a block we have called Pak Sao, which is a slapping block, and he's doing like this, like over here, and really all you need is that. You don't need that. You just right here is enough to deflect a punch. And but yeah, hold on a second. Just a second. Dude, you gotta keep it down. Sorry, my son's over and he's playing a video game right in the room right off of here. And it's like, dude.
That's hard. Yeah. I understand. My son's 15 and I hear him scream like every 30 seconds.
Yeah. Well, my other son, he's not here this weekend, but my wife used to work on Sundays really early, and they were playing a video game, and my other son, Aiden, he gets really into it, like, what the hell? Like, like he's like getting mad. Like, what?
I used to be that way.
Like getting all like animated, and I'm like, I finally went in and I'm like, dude, like, guys, you got to keep it down. Jen's trying to sleep for work tomorrow. And Aiden actually says this to me. He goes, you don't understand. I'm yelling as quiet as I can.
Oh my God. That caught my attention.
But anyway, yeah.
It's something that caught my attention about not hitting harder and thinking that it ain't gonna hurt. And I think it was something on the Joe Rogan podcast that he does. Or I heard it somewhere. He was talking about how Conor McGregor hits where it's not about how hard you hit, it's about the technique or where you hit. And it was really interesting because he had slowed down some of Connor's fights, and you can see where Connor hits. It's almost just like you can just tap somebody and they drop. And it's almost like you don't think that getting hit in the face, you're going to think that the harder you hit somebody in the face is what's going to do the most damage. And really, it's not. It's about the technique and where you hit.
Yeah.
And that's what I found most interesting. So to hear you kind of validate that, just I think more or less confirms my suspicion.
Well, it's like I tell people, because they let me at Hudson, this local community college. They have a community education courses, and you can teach really short. Like mine is a 3-week introduction to Wing Chun course, and I tell people all the time, people get obsessed over wanting to hit a specific, like if they get into a self-defense situation and they think, oh, I want to hit that person in the face. But if if something happens where they can't do that, then they just freeze and they don't do anything, and then they except get their asses kicked.
Yeah.
I tell them, if someone's got you somehow, they got you in a headlock, so you're down here, and you can't get much, from that position, you can't get much force into any hit that you do.
Yeah.
But don't worry about it. Just hit. Like you could from here you could hammer fist them in the groin or on their thigh or quad or something. Just hit.
And actually, right there, I believe, is a pressure point. I was at a church function. I got to help instruct for self-defense.
Yeah.
And it was me who I have done mixed martial arts. And then we had a instruction officer who would help teach the pressure points. And we would go back and forth and give us different scenarios. And he said, if you're going to knee somebody in the leg, you hit him between, I think it's just like above the knee, but also like it's like this big.
Yeah.
And again, you think because the leg is such a large muscle, it's not really going to do any damage. And he did it, and I tell you what, I buckled almost immediately, and I'm like, yeah. I limped for a little bit. I'm like, yeah, I'll put you down. And he even said that there's been times where he's had to deal with prisoners. He hit somebody there, and they fall and just scream like, "Oh, you broke my leg! Broke my leg!" No, I didn't break your leg. I hit you just hard enough to put you down. So I mean, that was another interesting thing, is to know the pressure points. And like you were saying, I think when people freeze, it's really good skill to have too, is to know where to hit. So if you don't know where to hit other than the face, you're gonna freeze, and like you said, you're gonna get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
It's just like with kata.
Mm-hmm.
It's kata is more of like I guess it's more of defense as well than it is attacking. It's more of confusion of somebody else's mind. That's what I learned when studying kata. But I heard that kata is really a really good defense as well.
Yeah. But, well, and the thing is, I'll tell you this. God, I mean, who knows who's catching the episode or what martial art they study? But even though the book is about Wing Chun, I was talking with this young woman, Melanie, who runs a website called a blog called the Little Black Belt. And when I was looking for just like people that would accept guest posts, I found her, and she and I actually did a mutual video interview exchange, and she read my book, and I read hers, and she interviewed me, and we were talking about it was weird. She didn't interview me about my book. I interviewed her about my book because I was saying, basically what I was trying to do is show that, yeah, it says Wing Chun in it and Chi Sao and this and that, but that you could read it and you could be a Taekwondo person,
Mhm.
and it could get the gears turning for you as to how you could do the same thing as what this book describes. Come up with your own home-based training routine. And so that's what I was trying to get across by interviewing her about my book instead of her interviewing me. And I didn't think about it till we were way closer to the interview. I was like, damn, I should have emailed you guys a copy of it just so you could read through it and get some questions. But
Yeah, if you still want, yeah, you should still send it to us. I'd love to read over it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, Mac and I are really very, very much into that type of stuff, and it won't take long for us to.
No. Well, I'm saying, barring that, I guess what I could do is, since you didn't get to see it, I can run you through what's in it, and then and any questions you come up with on the way, that'll be the I'll answer them. Okay.
Okay.
So I mean,
before
what's that?
I was gonna say before we get into that, I was gonna tell AJ here. You know who would have been a good part of the show with Steve tonight would have been Peter.
Oh yeah, Peter Watermeyer, right?
Yeah, he's been wanting to learn Wing Chun as well, and he does. He's a good friend of ours. He does self-defense as well, but he's always wanted to learn about Wing Chun, and I'll shoot him your information.
And then I actually also got me thinking, though, for a future episode, Steve, if you'd be up for it, and we could get Peter on for a future episode and have the four of us sit down and have a discussion. I think that would be an episode that would be very interesting for people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll be down for that.
Okay.
Personally, I also I had emailed you guys, and I said I also would be. I think it'd be cool to do I don't know where we could do it, meaning like on your end, where you would go, if it would be at home or whatever. I would have to get on a call with you guys, a video call, to see what kind of gear you have around your houses. But I think it'd be cool to run you through the exercise that I talked about the last time.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Full workout. But to plan it, I would just need to know like what we don't have to go into what gear you've got on hand now, but I would just need to know what you've got. And
okay.
Plan the exercises accordingly.
I can send you some stuff. I'll send you like a photo or something, or email you something and let you know what I got and stuff like that. I'm sure Matt can do the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So, well, starting right off, before I even get into any like training activities or whatever, I talk about the real secret of the book, which again is The Lone Warrior. Secret is, I mean, I've got a day job. I've got the personal trainer stuff. Oh yeah, I'm a husband. I'm a father of 4 kids. I write. I play music, and yet I get in like 45 to 60 minutes worth of martial arts training too. And people, they're like, how do you do that? And the answer is, the secret is don't see. Sometimes people think if I can't do it all in one sitting, then that just fries their brain right there. You don't think of it as something you have to get done all in one shot. Spread it out throughout your day. I mean, who says you have to do it all at once? You know, and
I mean,
you know,
that's
if
what
I,
I do.
what's that?
I said, I mean, that's kind of what I do when it comes to like, especially when I'm working out or something. I'll try to plan it either when my wife is home or when the day starts getting a little hectic. Whether I'm making a trip up to the bathroom or something like that, I'll take whether it's 2 or 3 minutes here and there, to, do a couple lifts or whatever it is, and even like martial arts, I'll do some shadow boxing if I have some time, and just kind of incorporate any little free time I have. I use that for the time to take my practice and really that's what it's about is
Yeah,
just you know
yeah.
maximizing your day.
It's like like let's say I don't know. Let's say I want to do 1,000 punches a day, right? That seems like a pretty lofty goal. That's only if you look at 1,000 in one string.
Mhm.
So I look at it like this. Okay, well, let's see. I get two 15-minute breaks at work and I get a half-hour lunch. I get up in the morning early enough where I can kind of eat breakfast and then relax a little bit before I got to rush out the door.
Right.
And then, of course, there's after work, So I say, okay, well, my goal is 1,000 punches. I'll do 200 before I leave. 200, so that's 200, and then there's my 15-minute morning break, my 15-minute afternoon, my lunch break, and then when I get home. So there you go, 200 times 5 rounds, 1,000. You know, um, and then there's like, well, geez, well then there's not just punches, there's kicks too. Okay, so then I come up with a way to practice the kicks. Wing Chun, also known for simultaneous attack and defense. So we have all different kinds of, like if this is a defensive technique, and here's my punch. This is called Tan Sao. When you add a punch to it, it's Tan Da, right?
Mhm.
So I'll practice my Tan Da. This one's called Pakta. I'll practice just a handful of them. What else? And then there's things like this lineage in particular is big on something called rooting, which is kind of hard to explain because when I do, people think I'm talking about like you stand there like a mannequin in a store, but that's not what it is. To most people, it sounds like you're talking about standing still, and you're not. Basically, it's where if you decide you want to sink into your root to the point where if someone pushes on you, they're not going to move you. That's what rooting is, and it's also what allows you to generate when you have rooting down good. That's how you generate so much power just by doing that because your roots are strong, and so you draw the power right up from the ground into your technique.
Mhm.
Rooting can be practiced like instead of sitting on the couch while I watch a half-hour show, I could stand up and get in my stance and practice my roots while instead of sitting down.
Right.
Then there's like you talked about shadow boxing.
Yep.
There's punching a wall bag. So like I just listed like all these different things. Anything that came to mind that someone might want to practice with the martial arts. There's the various. Okay, you got your punch and your kicks, but then you've got other upper and lower body attacks. You got palm strikes, you got chops, you've got elbows,
Knees.
yeah, knees, sweeps. Then you might want to practice depending on how many stances your martial art has. Practice your stances, practice your footwork. If you got a heavy bag, hit the heavy bag. If you're a Wing Chun person like me, you own a wooden dummy. Instead of practicing just the form of the wooden dummy, you could just improvise on it and hit it kind of the way you hit a heavy bag, you know.
Yeah.
What do you think of the bobs that they come out with? It was like the standing person, and I've thought that was pretty interesting and something to look into. But I don't know if I want to drop money for it. Like, is it even worth it?
Yeah, I mean they're not bad. I mean it's the only thing I don't like about them, well, and I kind of, this also holds true of the wooden dummy, is this that they don't move away from you if you hit them. That's the only thing. But the wooden dummy is still, I still think the wooden dummy is a valuable tool because oh, excuse me, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like when you do, if you go to the wooden dummy and you do like a on out and a low palm, if you don't release your energy properly, it's weird, but it used to happen to me when I was a beginner. I would try to do my Honda, and instead of moving the dummy, like I would bounce away because I wasn't releasing the energy into the dummy right, and it was rebounding back.
Yeah.
In. So that makes the wooden dummy a really invaluable tool. And then, even though the basis of this book was about a home-based training idea, it doesn't mean solo. It doesn't mean things you do on your own. Most of them, are things you could do alone. But then I also throw in there, you've got focus mitt drills, and you've got chi sao, and you got sparring that you can. You try to think of what could I add into the mix. You know, what could I do at home?
I like the, and I haven't set it up yet. I'm trying to get the room for, trying to figure out where to put it. But it's the rebound bag with the swinging arm on it. For defense. I mean, checking those out to have a lot of benefits when it comes to defensive work and just dodging and ducking and things like that. But I decided because it was either that or I was going to get the bob.
I can't. There's like a TV or something that's like overtaking me.
Mag, I believe that's on your end.
Give me 1 second.
Sorry about that, Steve. So
that's all right.
But no, so the thing that I have is the it's like the rebound, the reflex bag with the spinning bar on it. I like it. I haven't tried it out yet, but it seems to. Watching videos, it seems like it would have more benefits than like a bob or something because you're able to have that ducking and moving and. I love defense, but I also like offense. And when I've done martial arts and I've done fights and stuff like that, I've always noticed watching my fights back, I have always been the aggressor and the attacker. And it's like I want to try to step back from doing that and do more defense.
Yeah, I mean, defense is always harder because there's a saying that people say action is faster than reaction. That's because like if you're standing there and some guy is being verbally aggressive with you, but you don't know. Like most people are all talk. You don't know if he's really going to hit you.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, he starts going like that. Like
Right.
hand starts coming up from the side to hit you in the jaw, right? So he's already acting.
Before you have a chance to react.
You don't want to get hit by it. You have to react. You're already a step behind him.
Well, yeah, because he could be like right here before you even see.
Yeah. Right.
By the time you react, you didn't clip.
Right. But here's the thing, too, about that. And this is what I told the kids, the students, not kids. A lot of them were older than me. But what I tell the students in those classes I teach is like, don't worry. Don't let the fact that they made contact stop you from doing something to go back to doing something back to defend yourself, you know? And I was in this drill or this scenario where we were standing less than arm's length away from each other. And one person was going to be the aggressive jerk who suddenly brings their hand up from the side and goes whack, you know? And I said to the person punching, go in slow motion. And what I want the defender to do is I want the defender to actually let the punch touch your face. Because we're not going full speed, you know? So let it punch, let it connect, and even let it start to turn your head a bit. And we're going to do a defense from that. And one of the guys in the class started saying how he's like, this wouldn't work. I'm like, why wouldn't it work? Well, because you're already getting hit. Okay. And, you know, well.
I mean, if you're in a fight, you're 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a hit a couple of times, you know.
Well, and I said to him,
I'll be right back. She needs a diaper change.
Okay.
No problem.
He's like, the kid says, well, you've heard of glass jaw, right? And I'm like, yeah. And you know that you have a glass jaw? No. Okay, so what is this conversation all about?
Yeah, right.
I'm like, you don't know. I'm like, you're admitting defeat, and no one's even hit you yet.
Yeah.
And that's when I had to stop the. Everybody, stop. Everyone, listen to me now. This attitude here. This is why, you know, when people say martial arts is just as much mental as it is physical, this is what they're talking about. This, because it's quite a difference in attitude to be like the guy who's getting hit and go, oh no, he hit me. I didn't block his punch. Well, I guess that means I'm the loser. Okay, have a field day, buddy. You know what I mean? It's like you might as well you might as well stand there and say, oh, you hit me once. So I guess that means you won the fight. You know what I mean? And I said, if someone hits you, are you going to go, oh, they hit me, I guess I lost? Or are you going to go, you fucking son of a bitch, and come back and murder them?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? That's what you should want to do. They don't have the right to be disrespecting you and coming up and hitting you. And you know what I mean? That's when they say it's mental as well as physical. To me, that's a big part of it is, you know, knowing through and through that you deserve to be respected, and being hit is disrespectful. So
yeah, but you know what I've noticed in a lot of, not just in like mixed martial arts, but like in sports itself, like baseball. Well, I'll say like boxing, MMA, and like baseball. So like for baseball, when the pitcher's getting ready to pitch the ball, you can tell just by like focusing on his like body language how he's going to throw the ball. And then like and And like mixed martial arts, it's the same thing. You got to watch their body contact. You can almost for sure. Uh, I'm not gonna say 99% of the time, but I'm gonna say at least about 85% of the time can guess what they're gonna do by their body language or um, just by watching like their eyes. Like I saw a fight where they were like demonstrating like whenever this guy was getting ready to like throw a hook or just like throw any type of like punch, like
Mm-hmm.
his eyes would just get like super wide.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, once his eyes get, and then
Yeah.
the director was like, once his eyes get wide and he goes in for that hit, to counter.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
And speaking of, that's another thing too. I had included in the book is a. I mean, I came up with a list of like 100, literally 100 different kinds of drills that you could use in an ongoing class, and they fall into different categories like reflexes, sensitivity training, timing and distance. But one of the ones I included in the book was I, I just call it one attack, three counter. And so the idea is to get people to thinking, don't just counter once and think that's going to knock the person out, because it might not. So
yeah,
the idea is like if someone throws a hook punch at me, I will block by doing like 1, 2, 3, or something like that. If they try
hmm
to if they try to push me, I'll do 1, 2, 3, or whatever.
hmm
And I mean, obviously, in the beginning, people won't their counter attacks won't be Wing Chun attacks because they don't know it yet. But that's not the point. The point is to get that 1, 2, 3, not 1, 2, 3. So you don't pause, like go like you know what I mean? Like you go
yeah,
1, 2, 3, and that I consider that like preparation to help you get ready for sparring. And then, like I said, the thing that a lot of Wing Chun people do is they practice a drill called Chi Sao, which I mean you have to know
okay, yeah, I've heard of Chiso.
you have to know Wing Chun to know how to do Chi Sao. So
Hmm
if I say to myself, because this was the big thing for me, man, it's like, yeah, I could stand there all day and I could practice my punches, I could practice my kicks, I could practice my footwork, but that's not helping me where I really need it, which is with my reflexes and sensitivity training.
Yeah,
And the thing is, I don't know a lot of people who are in my life who like I don't see a lot of my classmates outside of class, you know. So most of the people that are around me most of the time don't know Chi Sao. So I started to think like, well, how can I still develop my sensitivity and reflexes if people don't know that drill? And I found the answer in this one. There was a video by this guy named Dominic Izzo, who's out. He's like in Chicago. I don't know if he is or used to be a police officer, but he's got Izzo Tactical Combat or something like that on YouTube. And he had a video. It was called How to Beat a Street Fighter with Wing Chun. And the guy in the video with him didn't know what the hell Chi Sao is. And he says during the video, he's like, you see, yeah, this is where your Chi Sao skills would come into play. And you got a partner who doesn't know what the hell Chi Sao is, just turn it into a game. You're trying to make it past their arms and just tap their chest or tap their face or something. And I took that idea, man, and I ran with it because that was great to me. Because like Wing Chun people always want to practice. We want to practice Chi Sao and develop our sensitivity and stuff. But except for when we're in class, we're usually around people that don't know how to do Chi Sao.
Right.
So it needed something. And so Dominic, he didn't call it. He didn't give it a name. He just said it like off the cuff in the middle of a video. And I just took it and I called it the Chi Sao substitute. Because it's like you reach your hands out and you're touching your hands as if you were doing Chi Sao, but you're not really doing the Wing Chun specific way. But you're still learning sensitivity. And obviously, you know, as far as like sparring goes, you know, you don't necessarily need another Wing Chun person to spar. So that was an easy one as far as like helping people fill in the gaps of how they can train and at home. You know, like just grab, you know, buy enough protective gear and slug it out with anybody. You know, you don't need a specific person. Oh.
Yeah, so that echoing, it was sounding like a TV. It's his mic, and every time somebody talks, it keeps echoing. So he's gonna go out and come back in.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so the book gives a lot of activities you could do, and it gives pictures of.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's all right. It gives pictures like if I say something like, to practice your rooting, you want to do like slow motion kicks. It's like, well, what do you mean? Like, how do I do that? So it's got like step-by-step pictures and captions to explain it all. And I'm trying to get to like at the end. I'm scrolling through it right now as I can't quite remember how I wrote this up, but I wanted to get to it. There's a spot at the end where I actually wrote out like what I did at the time. This is years ago. I probably should update. But you know, I gave a list of all the activities I was doing at the time and what goals I was aiming for. So if I said I was aiming for punches, 500 punches a day, how did I do that? You know, then I go through and I explain. I give charts that says Monday, and then it's got 5 different rows. Like I was describing earlier, there's 5 different rows. One of them says before work, morning break, lunch, afternoon break, and then after work. And then I list what I did and how much, you know, and I break it down that extensively. And I just got to it. I'm looking at it. Yeah, this was a while back. This is when I used to have a heavy bag in my apartment. I had a stand that fit in the corner of my dining room, and because I could not hang a heavy bag from the ceiling here. It wouldn't fly. But I had a frame that I could hang it on, and I would hit the heavy bag. And it's really not that hard to fill up a schedule. The hard part is the stuff that I like what I've been saying about the sensitivity and the reflex training, you know?
Yeah.
But, well, actually, and between those two, I would say that the sensitivity stuff is even harder than the reflexes. Because, like, if you've got a friend who practices Taekwondo or something, well, there's your sparring and your reflex development right there. But if you want to develop the sensitivity training, then you're going to run into that issue again of most people don't know what the hell Chisao is. So that still winds up being the one where you're going to struggle the most. But, you know, my whole point with the book was just to show people, like, basically the whole where there's a will, there's a way thing, you know. And like I said, there's no reason that, like, if people say, well, if someone tells you you should do 500 punches a day, and most people will go like, I don't have time to do 500 punches. That's because they're thinking of doing it all in one shot, you know. And you got be
it's
time management.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw this commercial the other day, and they were like, if you want to learn how to kick trees down and punch bricks without breaking your knuckles, come join our school and we'll teach you how to do it. And then they show like this video clip from what's that movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme in it where he's kicking the tree? Kickboxer.
Oh,
Kickboxer. Yeah, and they show this clip of him kicking a tree, and it's like, if you want to kick a tree down, come join our come join our class. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No.
It's like Bruce Lee said in Enter the Dragon, boards don't hit back.
No.
You know.
No.
It's just, it's like they had this there's this tournament, and it's not really a tournament. This martial art event they have around here. I think it's twice a year. And it's put together by a guy who runs a pretty big, successful Taekwondo school around here. And it has several events throughout the day, but like 90% of the events are board breaking events. And I'm like, yeah, you guys need to come up with a different schedule, because the board breaking that you need to do is not the BOARD. You need to break the BORED.
Yeah, right.
That's the board breaking, because I am like, oh, I'm at this end of the event. I'm at this end of the event watching a board breaking, and then that ends. Okay. Oh, hey, they're starting another activity at the other end of the building. Okay, I hustle down there, and it's more board breaking. And I'm like, what
so
the
Steve,
hell?
Talking about board breaking, it has me thinking about the movie Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And I think it's Bloodsport. And somewhere in there, they show where they're breaking the bricks. And you hit the brick, and it breaks the bottom brick. Doesn't break any of the other ones. Is that Hollywood, or is there actual truth behind that? Because they say that it was based on a true story, but
but you know what is more interesting than Bloodsport is if you look into the guy who's based on Frank Dukes.
Yes.
That you like comedy? Look into the kind of story that he tells about himself. That's funny shit, man.
I heard he's quite the liar. He likes to build himself up to something that he's really not.
He has spread the rumor that that he was like working for some top secret, top tier government agency, and he's an assassin or whatever. And he even sold a lie that they had doubles of, they had people out there that were doubles of him. And
my gosh.
And an interviewer asked him about that. And so the interviewer goes, so am I talking to the real Frank Dukes right now? And he's sitting there looking all smug, and he's got sunglasses on, and he's like, maybe, or what, he like it's like, oh my god, dude, this guy is so this is beyond belief that this guy, oh my god. And then there was this one dude who used to have a YouTube channel. I don't know if he took it down or what happened. It was called The Pink Man, and he had these videos up that were about all the different the best known martial arts frauds
Mhm.
that have been gone. Like this guy, Ashita Kim, who is like a ninja man, and then a guy named George Dillman, who at one point was an actual talented martial artist, from what I understand. Like when martial arts started to come over to the States, I guess at one point Muhammad Ali was curious about what this stuff all about, and actually took lessons from this George Dillman guy. I think. I do know that he used to be more legit than he became, but he started being one of these people who talked about like releasing your chi to knock people down, and he'll have videos with 5 of his students standing one behind the other, supporting each other, and he'll just do something weird. He'll whip his hands around like this, and he goes like that, and the students all go flying.
Is this like some Street Fighter shit or something? Like,
yeah, it's just so ridiculous. And God, I can't think of. There were so many people that try to get
the
away
one
with.
person I seem to be drawn to, and I mean, you don't really hear. I mean, at least I haven't heard any like bad things about him being a fraud or anything. Is Michael Jai White?
Uh-huh.
And I mean, he seems to be knowledgeable. He seems to know what he's talking about, but at the same time, you don't ever really see him like making it all about him. The videos you do see is of him teaching, or when he's something like that. He's not going on about himself.
Yeah, there's a video. There's a video of him. It's where they're behind the scenes of a movie, but he's teaching like a professional like MMA guy, like some type of like boxing technique, and he goes, "I want you to throw your 3 fastest hits."
Seen that?
Yeah, he goes, "I want you to throw your 3 fastest hits," and he goes, 1, 2, 3, and they're like really quick. And then he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna throw my 3 fastest hits," and then he's like, "I want you to move your hand just like quickly out the way." So
Yeah.
Michael, he goes 1, 2, 3, and he misses them all. And he's like, "All right, this is my final one." And all he does was he just takes his fist and just goes, boom.
Yeah, I think he was talking about the non-telegraphic
Yeah.
punching. Yeah, that's a big one. That's very tricky. But it is possible. Even if you don't telegraph, I mean, you could be like this far away from someone and still hit them if you don't telegraph.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of practice. And God, there was some, it's tough. It's for me. I mean, I love it. I love it. I love martial arts. I love Wing Chun. The only thing that I cannot answer is, people always, well, those who are more into it and see more videos and stuff, they say to me, well, if Wing Chun works so great, why do so many people that go in the ring and say they're Wing Chun people get their asses handed to them? I can't answer that because I don't know why.
Right.
I don't know how they train. I can say it must be how they train, and I don't mean that bit bullshit people say about, oh well, they didn't learn the real Wing Chun. I don't.
You know what, Steven? It's funny that we talk about this because we had a good friend of ours on the show some time ago, and I had asked a question, something similar. I had an old friend who claims that he used to be a wrestler for ECW, and so I asked our good friend that actually wrestled for the company, hey, have you heard, so and so? It's like, no, unless he was there before, or after I had left. But he also made claim that there are people out there that will go around because they like the promotion so much that they would go out there and claim that they wrestled for said promotion when really
Yeah.
never stepped in the ring in their life. And so I'm wondering if this is like that same concept is maybe people are just saying they know Wing Chun, they go in there, they get their ass handed to them. And people are going to buy it because it's like, well, try to take people for their word.
Well,
And then it ruins it for the people that actually.
the weird thing is like people, a lot of people got. So here's the other thing too, for the Wing Chun haters, I think people got. I mean, who can say where this stuff got started? But I think a lot of people got sick of like Wing Chun practitioners saying, well, they wouldn't allow Wing Chun in MMA because it's too deadly to use. I think people got sick of hearing that said, and they took it as like a cop out. So that's why people now got on this kick about saying how Wing Chun sucks so bad. But this is how bad it's gotten. Because people, how nobody likes to lose. Right? No one likes to be wrong. So this is what happens. Let's say you see a video where a boxer fights a Wing Chun guy, right? And the Wing Chun guy wins. Well, what do you think the Wing Chun haters do? Do you think they shut up? No. They want to still be right. So
Right.
they will say one of two things. They will say the boxer, oh, that guy was a crappy boxer, or that guy wasn't doing real Wing Chun.
Always an excuse for somebody.
What's that?
So there's always an excuse.
Yeah.
Even when you prove somebody wrong, they will make up an excuse. And no matter how many times you're able to shoot that excuse down, they will start getting to the most ridiculous bullshit. It's like, now it's getting deep in here.
I made a really short video that I posted just on Facebook one time. I was just thinking about this stuff and it was really irritating me more than it should have. And I just made a post and I go, remember everybody, if you see a Wing Chun guy fight a boxer and the Wing Chun guy loses, well, that proves Wing Chun sucks. But if the Wing Chun guy wins, that means the other guy was a crappy boxer. So that's the way they set it up, so that whichever outcome, Wing Chun's, that guy who said he was using Wing Chun, he's a good fighter, but he wasn't using real Wing Chun, so Wing Chun still sucks.
But then he get into those same people that will tell you Wing Chun sucks or whatever the case is and make up all these bullshit excuses. It could be the same person that'll go and be like, okay, I'm secretly interested in it, learn it, and then they'll turn around and win a fight and be like, yeah, this is what I did and this is how I did it. And make him, we live in a world of hypocrites.
Yeah. But, and here, you want to know really the really stupid thing that the stupid things people say, they say it, and if they stopped and thought 2 seconds about what they just said, they'd realize that was dumb. Like there was one guy, this kid, he made a video about how he'd been learning all different kinds of martial arts throughout his life. He decided he wanted to learn Wing Chun, and he goes, I learned it. Then I tried to use it in my sparring, and I couldn't make it work. What did you just say there, man? You said you couldn't make it work.
Right.
That doesn't mean it doesn't work. That means nothing.
You want to talk about? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there's this. The only other thing. Then I'll get to your the question there. So keep that in mind. This guy, he's got a fairly big YouTube following. This guy Ramsey Dewey.
I think I've heard of him.
He's a tall, bald guy. He lives in Shanghai, and he has a really deep voice like that. You know.
Okay.
And he was talking about Wing Chun. He does a lot, and he said something about like Wing Chun has no defense against the leg takedown. And then he goes, sometimes you'll hear people say, "Oh yeah, well my Sifu taught me defense against the double leg takedown." Well then, that's not really Wing Chun. What? What the hell does that mean? So I guess if a boxer fought a wrestler and the boxer learned something to stop the wrestler's double leg takedown, that means that's not really boxing? I mean, that's
or he's not a real wrestler, is what they'll go with. Or if the wrestler wins, oh well, that guy wasn't a real boxer.
Yeah.
It's always some excuse.
But you know what I mean? It's like, wait a minute. So by learning how to defend against something, I'm no longer doing real Wing Chun. So, well, but if I don't learn how to defend against it, then if anyone goes to do that, then I'll lose.
Right.
So then we're back to square one of how Wing Chun. It's just so stupid.
And it comes back to one of those things like that person will sit there and say, "Oh well, you know, you're not doing real Wing Chun because you defended against this." But if that same person that said it knows Wing Chun and were to defend the exact same attack, what's his excuse going to be? Oh, well, I know real Wing Chun. You don't.
Yeah.
You know, again, the people come up with the most ridiculous bullshit out there, and so Steve. I tell you, I will sit there and be dumbfounded. You know, and real quick, I'd like to share a story, Mac. Almost for certain where I'm going with this. We're on the show one night, and we had a couple of viewers, and Mac says, "So drop a comment, you know, say hi to everybody," and we're waiting, and I happen to know who these two people are. We don't hear nothing, we don't see nothing pop up, so I make a phone call. My mom happened to be watching that night, so I'm on the phone, and I had my mic on mute, and I says, "Hey, you know, why didn't you say anything? Are you watching?" And she says, "Well, yeah, I'm watching." She says, "Well, we're saying hi, but you guys can't hear us." And so I'm thinking for a minute, and I unmuted my mic at this point for live for everybody to hear. And I said, say that again." She said, "Well, yeah, we're sitting here. You guys said to say hi, and we're yelling hi. How you doing? You know, and you guys can hear us." And I said, "Mom, I said, you realize that we told you to drop a comment in the chat. You can't hear. Obviously, we're not going to be able to hear you because you didn't type nothing." It's just she is one person that I get dumbfounded more and more every time I talk to her, and it's funny, but at the same time, it's just like there are actual people, there are actual humans like this, Steve.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of crazy stories, I mean, I've told this story a couple of times, and AJ knows about this story about when I was at work. I had a person just walk up to the truck while I was sitting in my work truck and say the most craziest thing to me. So one long story short, me and my coworker, we pull up to a gas station. He's getting gas, and he's like, "Hey, you want something?" I'm like, "Yeah, give me a Gatorade and a water." So I give him a 10, and I was like, "Whatever's left," I was like, "Get you one too, or whatever." So he's in there. I'm typing up. I'm looking over the pictures we took of this one job, and guy comes over. He just walks up to the to my window. I've got it like kind of like rolled down, cracked, and he goes, "Excuse me." I'm like, "Yes." He was like, "I just walked over here to tell you that I thought about robbing you walking over here." And I was like, "That's great to know." And then just walks away.
But you know what though, and I say this every time Mike talks about this story. You gotta give the guy props for at least being honest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like so I do.
He asked you for $10 after that, didn't he?
He did, and I told him that I gave him my last $10 to my coworker. But there was another part. There was another scene where we were at an apartment complex, and I was going inside to look at an apartment, and we were in there to get photos, and my coworker's in there fussing with somebody while I'm standing out on the phone trying to get some directions about what we're supposed to be doing, and I hear him arguing with somebody, and I go in there, and he's like, "Oh, never mind. And I'm like, "What's wrong?" He goes, "You," and I'm like, "What the hell did I do?" He's like, "Me, short, you, giant." I'm like, "Oh, I get that a lot." I mean, just because I'm 7 foot tall. I mean, Jesus.
But
I'm not really that tall. I'm like 6'5".
Close enough though. I'm 5'6".
I mean, here's the thing. I don't know. Getting back to the Wing. If Wing Chun really sucked, then there was this school nearby. They're not a Wing Chun school, but the owner was like, "Hey man, I know you really wanted to get into sparring and stuff," and he's like, "You could come to class, and you don't have to use the style we teach here. You could spar with your Wing Chun skills, you know." And if Wing Chun really, now granted, here's the other thing too. The people in your average martial arts class that are sparring are not the athletes that the MMA people are, right?
Right.
But I mean, some of them were really fit and active young kids, you know, like half my age or less. And they could hit hard, and they had good skill and speed and everything. Granted, like I said, they're not, you know, MMA competition level or UFC competition level, but still, if Wing Chun really sucked, then I should have been laid out in every sparring round with every classmate, and
Right.
I wasn't. Did I do
Excuse me.
overly well? I'm my own worst critic, so I don't know. But I know I didn't just get dominated by everybody.
I'm a glutton for punishment here, Steve. I would just like to throw this out there. If you are ever in my area, I'm over in Pennsylvania. But if you're if you are ever out this way, I would love to spar with you. I mean, I love the competition. I love to be able to do that type of stuff. I've done fighting my whole life, and it's just whether I get my ass handed to me or I get a chance to beat somebody's ass, I just have fun doing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
if you're up for it,
yeah. Well, I'm always down for that too. And in fact, the school. I just remembered another thing to add to that. the school that I was talking about there, they partnered up with another school, with the Taekwondo guy who runs that big event.
Okay.
And they're like, hey, instead of going to our school over here, we're going to go over to this other one tonight, and everybody from both schools is going to spar all night, right? So I sparred against the big shot guy, the head Taekwondo guy, and even he didn't like knock me out. I mean, there was one point he threw a kick at me, and I caught his foot, and I just dumped him. You know, I just threw him on the ground, and he was like, "Wow, nice," you know. And it's just so, it's like, if Wing Chun sucked 100%, would I have been able to do that? I don't think so. You know, but people believe, you know what I found, like, people believe what they want, and I'm not here to make anyone drink my Kool-Aid. So
Right.
you either have an open mind and you look into it, or you don't, you know.
I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, it doesn't hurt to give something new a try.
No.
You got to be willing to do it. You know, break out of your comfort shell, try something. And if it's not for you, it's okay. Ain't nobody going to judge you for it.
Well, that's like with the training, with the personal training I do.
Mm-hmm.
If you try one session from me, and you're like, nah, that didn't really, I don't feel like that worked. What did you lose? A half hour a day.
Really nothing, because either way you're still learning something.
Yeah.
And whether you think you can continue doing it or not, you still learn something. I mean,
yeah.
That's just what I tell my kids when during practice. It's like, even though you can't get it right, you're still going to learn it, because it's got to get stuck in your mind somehow.
I mean, the thing, like, it's funny though, like, the two things I'm interested in, I wouldn't say the most, I can't really tell which has my interest more, personal training or that kind of stuff, or the more creative stuff like writing and music and stuff. I can't really tell you which one is more of an interest to me, but definitely Wing Chun and personal training are two things where people have these beliefs that they've had for years, and even without any evidence, it's like all like anecdotal stuff. There's no hard supportive evidence, you know. And people just buy it and they believe it. They heard it once and they believed it right away and ever since. And it's really hard to find the people that are willing to be like, okay, yeah, maybe there's something to this other way this guy does things, you know. Like another one is like when people have heard things like, if I say something like, well, this really is the best way to exercise. In my opinion, it's the only way, you know. People go, well, but everyone responds differently to different kinds of training. No, it's not exactly true. If the three of us lift weights in the exact same way with the same intensity and everything, if all of our intensity of effort is all equal, right? The only thing that's different is you might lose 5 pounds of fat and gain a pound of muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost 3 pounds of fat and gained half a pound of muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, yeah, our results are different, but not the way the body responds to the exercise itself.
Mm-hmm.
If Arnold Schwarzenegger trained in a workout the way I do, where he trained until momentary muscle failure, if all things considered equal or whatever, you know, like if we both put out as much intensity of effort as we can, our muscles are going to respond the same way.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to fatigue the muscles are going to say, holy crap, we just went through some crazy amount of stress. It nearly killed us. In case that ever happens again, we better get stronger so it doesn't kill us next time.
Oh yeah.
So that, I mean, because physiologically, we're both human beings.
Right.
You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger and I are both human beings. That means our muscles are designed the same way, made of the same stuff. They react the same way. Your results are different, and people can't wrap their head around that. You know.
So, Steve,
But anyway, yeah.
But no, we'd love to have you back on the show again. I think this was really good, but we got to start wrapping up here.
Yeah.
For everybody who's listening in and tuning in, please go check out Steve. His information is in the description below. He's going to teach you everything you want and need to know, and yeah, it's going to be a good time. And Steve, thank you for joining us tonight, and can't wait to have you back.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, with the your friend there, we'll get a good martial arts discussion going.
Yeah, I apologize. I had to step out. Take care of
That's
definitely.
Yeah, no
we'll be in
problem.
touch.
Man.
Yep.
All right. So,
So
thanks,
again,
Steve, and we will definitely touch you on down the road.
yeah, and so again, it's on Amazon, The Lone Warrior. It will show you how to get a decent amount of martial arts training in your life, no matter how busy your schedule is. Bust through the excuses and train.
All right, so we will definitely touch you on a future episode. Let's stay in touch.
Will do. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.